did it. We finally did it again.
We finally did it.
It's going to be the way that we start every episode. Holy shit, this thing is still working.
It's the throw a party on step 1 phase of the goal.
It's just the baby steps. Got to celebrate the baby steps every step of the way.
Every time we record.
Doing, buddy?
It's been a weird couple weeks. I've been sick and then better and then sick and then better and then sick, and now I think I'm better, but I'm also just coming off of steroids. So yeah,
dude, I'm like literally right there with you. I just took a shower, and like in the too much information zone, do you like blow your nose in the shower? Is that something that you do because it's easy to like go ham? You don't have to worry about, you're like, fuck it, let's get all the snot out, like just like get it out. Is that something you do?
Yeah, I'm not a stranger to shooting off a farmer load in the shower, I'll say that.
Hell yeah, there you go. My entire sinus cavity came out today. Like it was so gross. And like my backstory of being sick is I went to Oregon a couple weeks ago. Why we haven't been able to do episodes, and then you were sick, and then all the shit. And I was cleaning out my dad's shop. We were shutting down our family business, and just so much dust and debris and crap, floating in my sinuses. And when I was like, I used to have really bad sinus headaches when I would like fly because the pressure would change.
Sure.
And it would be like almost like crippling to tears. And I had one of those moments landing back in St. Louis. Is like, uh-oh. And ever since then, like, it was just like kind of constant blood and everything going on. And I think that's what really pushed the sinus infection over the edge. And today the antibiotics and the steroids and everything are finally working to like the like perfect equilibrium. And it's just like pushing all this rancid old shit out of my head. It is oof.
But it's good to just get it out though. Like that's part of it. It's just like, you just got to get that shit out of there, man. I hate being congested.
Absolutely.
Being congested to the point where like you can't really breathe right through your nose. Like, it like, I don't know. It physically pains me. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. I don't know how people with like asthma and shit do it. Like, just like it would be really difficult because like there's no great place on the world to go and like allergies aren't a problem. Here in St. Louis, like we are like the mold capital of the Midwest because we're kind of in the bottom of a basin.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the mold and pollens collect here and come through here on the way down to, the Delta and out to the ocean. So we just get like this like weird mishmash of absolute garbage air. It's awful. It's absolutely awful.
Have you always had allergies?
No, I was really good out in Oregon. I moved here. Horrible.
Dude, okay, so I go off and on. I've lived in the same place forever, right? I was born and raised in Colorado. I've never really moved. Like I've lived in the same 100-mile radius my whole life. And I just have random allergies now.
Sure.
But some seasons really bad, other seasons not so much.
Yeah.
And so it's
and that's part of getting older too, man. Like it's just the way that it is. Like the last time I went and saw The Who, they were all like asking everybody not to smoke weed. They're like, don't smoke weed because it's not that we don't want to support your freedom to choose what to put in your body, but literally we're so allergic to it that even the smell of it puts us in the fucking hospital. I was like, holy shit. Oh my
gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
So I had this thought a while ago. This is perfect instant tangent about allergies. And I was like, do allergies disprove human evolution? Because if you've lived here long enough, shouldn't you just not be allergic to the planet? You know what I mean? Like I am just allergic to the dust on this earth. The fuck is that? Who made that deal? How have we not evolved out of allergies yet? I don't get that.
Have you looked at the allergy charts per year?
No.
Every year's the worst year. Like they only get worse. Like it's not one of those things that you're like, oh, this was a light year for allergies. Like no, every year is like exponentially worse than the year before.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's just like even if we are evolving to like actually navigate this, you're still gonna suffer allergies. It's just part of it. It's part of existing on this planet.
Dude, Earth is complicated, man. Earth is weird. What a weird rock that we're just literally allergic to the dust on it. We've lived here apparently forever, but the dust will just fuck me up, man.
Dude, we are like one bad Earth cycle from like being completely eradicated off the planet.
I
And I know
believe
that's
that,
just
man.
like we're in this like something wholesome, or we're trying to be like positive, and maybe this is like my way of saying like live your life like it could be your last day, and just like try to embrace and love and be as positive as possible, because like seriously, we're just like one catastrophe away of like not being a species anymore. So it's just like just love it, be part of it, be good. Try to enjoy it, even though we might suffer through our short earth years. The least at the end, this planet will be here long after we're gone.
That's true. Giving whatever other aliens land on it, giving them allergies also. And they're probably also like, this is bullshit, man. Why am I allergic to this place?
Did you watch the last Aliens movie, Aliens Covenant,
Yeah.
where they had those little like spore pods that's where all the like new aliens came out of? I was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, that's about right. and Ridley Scott wrote that. He was like, I went out with my truffled pig and I was like hitting the English countryside and blah blah blah, and then I got a bad allergy attack, and I was like, I'm gonna make my aliens come from mold this time.
Yeah.
Like it's literally the story for The Last of Us. It's mold monkeys.
I feel like they're running out of alien ideas, but I'm cool with it. Like just kind of recycle it, I guess. Just make a new alien movie every 10 years and I'm totally fine with that. Totally cool with it.
I mean, my only problem with the Alien franchise is that he keeps on feeling like he has more to say, and he doesn't. And he should stop
Yeah.
trying and just make a horror movie that has some vibe to it, because the second it gets a little heavy-handed, like that was literally the only problem with Prometheus, is they made a fairly decent sci-fi movie just so heavy-handed that you're just like, I am not having fun watching this anymore. Same with this show. Did you watch Raised by Wolves on HBO?
No. Okay. This is so crazy. I just saw an ad for this like 2 days ago and I couldn't remember what it was, the name of it. And so I knew it was HBO original. So I just had to start scrolling HBO originals because I saw the ad and I was like, holy shit, this looks amazing. And so then I just had to literally and I could remember the name of it. So I had to just start scrolling and scrolling and scrolling HBO originals till I was like, that looks kind of like maybe it's familiar because Ridley Scott made it, right?
He co-created and directed, I think, the first 2 episodes, and like like it. I think he got a lot more credit for it than what he probably should have. But the moments that are like huge hangers are 100% Ridley Scott moments. So like you'll either love it or you'll hate it. I am more in the hate it camp. It's visually very beautiful.
Yeah.
The mullet tech is literally the reason why I shaved the sides of my head, because like everybody on the show has really good fucking mullets, and I'm just like, man, I want a really good mullet. Like, even though like I didn't go full mullet, but I like weird haircut. Let's do that.
Yeah.
But then they just made, like I said, anytime Ridley Scott thinks that he has something to say, he needs to stop. Someone needs to like take the pen away at that point. Because like you'll get to like I think there's only 8 episodes, and you'll get to like episode 6 and you'll be like, I haven't been on board in a while. And then when you get to the end of it, you're like, how the fuck did anybody give this guy money? It's like Matrix Resurrections level of like stupid. You're like, what the fuck just happened here? Like, how did this even get greenlit? Like, how did somebody read this and be like, yes, this is the idea we're going with.
It's just, dude, you know what that reminds me of is Yellowstone. Have you watched Yellowstone?
I have not watched Yellowstone. I've heard people tell me that it's really good, and I don't know if it's a reality show or if it's like a drama. And I'm just like, I'm a little afraid to find out. I know too much, and I haven't paid enough attention, and so I kind of feel like I'm like, I don't know if this is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So here's Yellowstone. It's a drama show. I would say Yellowstone might be the best show on TV right now, with this caveat. I don't know if there's ever been a dumber premise for a show ever. Like it's the dumbest idea for a show ever, and what they've done with it is mind-blowing because
Brilliant.
it's so stupid. It's the dumbest shit ever. It's basically a corporation approached this man and said, "We want to buy your ranch at a fair price." And he is a billionaire and is like, "You're not going to buy my ranch." And won't sell them the ranch. And then they're like, "Okay, well, since we've offered you a price for it, we're just going to now try to just take this land because we need it for projects, for other land developments, for like airports." And that's the premise of the show. That's literally it. That's it. It's these people just wanted to buy his land, and he's like,
it's every rancher's worst nightmare,
dude,
eminent domain.
Seriously, that's what it's about. That's what like it's the premise. But like episode 1, they're like, "We would like to buy your ranch." And then it instantly is like, "You can't take it." And they're like, "No, dude, they wanted to buy it. Did you catch that part?" And it's
it's a transaction here, man.
Dude, it's the dumbest, and it's like it's made up, obviously, but it's the guy with the most land in the state. You know, he's a billionaire, and it's like, so you have that aspect of it where it's like, you know, it's like this billionaire who you don't feel bad for, but you by the end of the first episode is like an hour and 45 minutes long. The first episode is a standalone movie that's really fucking good, and by the end of the first episode, you're like, I can't stand this piece of shit, but goddamn it, I want to know what happens to his ranch. And like, that's it. That's the whole show. And I just finished season 4, I think. I think season 4 just finished. Whatever season just finished. Dude, I'm fully hooked. It pisses me off. The scripting is terrible. The actors are awful. But like, I can't stop watching it, man. I am fully invested in the show. And like, I would say 8 out of 10 episodes at the end of it, I'm like, God damn it, I hate this show. But I can't stop watching it. It's the best show on TV by like a landslide right now.
What channel is it on? Like,
it's on Paramount. It's on Paramount. Like, I think depending on your streaming service, you might have access to it.
Yeah. I definitely don't, because otherwise I would have watched the Picard shows and Star Trek Discovery. I'm not a huge Trekkie, but I would probably say that if you were going to ask what universe I like better, Star Wars or Star Trek, and I was just being honest with myself, Star Trek is definitely the universe, because Star Wars is a dumb movie that, you know, has copied lots of tropes from other sci-fi places, where Star Trek has actually like trailblazed places, you know. So it's just like, you know, it's like, do you want like real coffee, or do you want some Sanka? Like, like it's coffee, but it's like, it doesn't have the same oomph.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I've heard this argument about Star Trek being better than Star Wars. I'm not a Star Trek person. I've never gotten into it. So like, I've heard this argument. It sounds like a valid argument. I just have no experience with Star Trek, so I can't even comment on it.
I mean, even just go back and watch the new movies, the Star Trek with Chris Pine that J.J. Abrams did. Those 3 movies are, I mean, like, J.J. Abrams is kind of a problematic director, as he like plays really heavy off of nostalgia, which is great to get you into something, but it's also like, you know, a little reductive, and some people get weird with it. And so I don't know, like, I love the J.J. Abrams Star Wars movies. I think Force Awakens is like a lot of fun, even though it is,
I agree,
almost beat per beat the first movie.
Yeah.
So it's just like, who cares? You know, but like, the writing is so much different. And like you can have like there's this one Star Trek movie, The Undiscovered Country, which is I can't even remember. I think it's when the Cardassians get found on the edge of the solar system or something like that. It's like this whole new species, and so like the Romulans and the Klingons are having problems. It's just like this whole political intrigue thing. And at the end of it, you just have this like really great kind of like who done it story. And you can't have that in Star Trek or in Star Wars. Star Wars is
Yeah.
like space wizards doing some shit. And while I love it, like don't get me wrong, it's fine. It is also like, you don't have the first interracial kiss on Star Wars. You do in Star Trek. You have this
Oh.
lineage of like pushing the boundaries and actually like talking about what a utopian society can achieve. You don't have that. You have the opposition to that, and that's I think a creative difference that really hinders the Star Wars world of actually growing the way it should be. I mean, like I haven't watched the new Book of Boba Fett, and people are like, why are we still dealing with Tatooine? They have this whole galaxy and they're still on Tatooine. I'm like, they've got a problem. It's that the writing really only allows them a really narrow focus, because that is what makes a Star Wars story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did we just
There you go.
Did we just do the episode topic in the intro? Did we just Did we just go way deep end on alien movies?
Yeah, it's just like fuck what we wanted to talk about. Let's talk about hard sci-fi versus soft sci-fi for the next hour.
Oh my god, I love it, man. That's amazing.
I could totally do it too. Like I could talk sci-fi for a really long time, and I'm not like as well versed as I should be in it, but also I've done enough, I've read enough, I've seen enough that I think I could hold my own.
We should do a sci-fi episode because I feel the same. I feel like I could also talk sci-fi, what's good and what's horrible about it forever, but I also feel like I'm not well versed enough about it. We should maybe do sci-fi week where we just learn about sci-fi and then talk about it.
I'm down with that. I think that sounds great.
That would be a super fire episode.
Especially since most of our hobby time is based around a sci-fi universe that is as reductive of every other sci-fi universe and fantasy. The Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, and 40K, both universes are just like, it doesn't take very long to find the source material that they're made off of.
Yeah.
It's like Lord of the Rings, Dune. Sorry. That's what it is.
Yeah. It's like, I wonder where you got this idea from. Let me open this one very, very obvious book. Oh, that's where you got it.
Oh, you changed the spelling from orcs to oryx. Nailed it.
Great work, boys.
Let's write ourselves checks.
Oh,
big bonuses for all.
Fucking James Workshop, man. Have you been following any of the fallout with their financial statements? I know we talked a little bit about the discourse video. Have you watched further videos about the same topic? Because I'm in deep on this topic now.
No, I haven't. Like the problem is you get too deep in any of the 40K controversy, and you're like 2 steps away from being in like alt-right fucking Proud Boy territory. And so like I really just try to skip across like the glassy surface of it. I'm just like, oh yeah, no, this makes sense. Moving on.
Yeah. 40K, you're always just one click away from a 4chan. Like right. If you just click on the wrong thing, you're just in some fucking chan and you're like, oh my God, what's going on in here?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's pretty ugly, but like it was a really damning statement, and it's so much of the stuff on it. It's just like, I don't want 40K to fail. I don't want Games Workshop to fail. I want them to be a very successful company.
Yeah.
Because they are the rising tide. For all of the other little games that come along, they are the rising tide. But I think that they have very predatory practices.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're very short-sighted in the way that they handle a lot of stuff. I think that like half of their problems could be changed if they just talked to fans more. Like, just talk to us more. Curse City is messed up because of Brexit. Tell us. Like that's a pretty easy thing to do. Be like, hey, we actually only had 6,000 copies of this game and we needed 14,000.
Yeah.
Like, so we need to hit this again and we're really sorry. It will be coming back. We'll be quiet about it so as not to like make anybody who missed it feel bad. That's all they needed to do. Just one like, hey, thank you so much for supporting us. We're going to support you. This will be coming back. And they just flat out don't do anything. And so like it leaves this like this FOMO, like now, oh my God, it might be gone for forever. So I have to spend the money now. I have to spend the money now. And I'm tired of being like triggered that way. Like straight up, it feels triggering every time they release something new that I look at. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like that sucks. That's a shitty feeling. Like and it's not like they can't just have sprues of stuff made. They don't need box art. They've sold like non-box art models for forever, and they come with stupid white boxes or fucking Ziploc bags. They'll send you models in Ziploc bags.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then the fact that like they don't do any sort of like real discount stuff for people who've been buying for a long time. It just is just like, guys, you know your audience, but you are shutting yourself off to the rest of the world, like absolutely doing it.
Yeah, it's for anybody who's not aware, last week the Games Workshop annual shareholder report came out and it got dunked on by shareholders and dunked on by content creators. Discourse made an amazing video about it, Discourse Miniatures. I've watched another great video yesterday. There's a guy who made a YouTube about it. He's like, I happen to like Warhammer and paint commissions and stuff, but my actual job is I'm a financial analyst. And he broke down everything. And it's like, dude, it's crazy. I mean, and I agree with you. Like, I think Games Workshop, I hope that they succeed, right? Like as a primarily Warhammer content creator, I have to have some investment and belief that the company that I make content not for, but
because
on the same topic. If I'm not a believer in that company long term, I shouldn't be making content, period. Right? Like if Games Workshop fails, so does my how to paint a Space Marine video. Because you're just, as a Warhammer content creator, you're in bed with Games Workshop. Like that's just the way it is. And so I've always been very interested in their stock and financials and have definitely been overly critical, but I don't think it's overly critical. It's just important to me that they succeed, because if they lose, we lose. And like, I have to be a believer of them, even though they're making huge mistakes and have been for like, for sure for the last year, but have really fallen apart the last 6 months. It's interesting. And they got absolutely dunked on by the shareholders. So their stock is down from September till like, as of the video I watched yesterday, they've lost $1.5 billion in stock market valuation.
Oh, well, and that last line of the whole thing, like the only real problem with that that threatens our company is our executives and their lack of, like, I can't remember how but it basically said our senior management doesn't know what they're doing. Like that is real grim. That's not what you want to hear about the company that you love.
So it's, I think that hard times like this are going to be good for them long term. I think that it's going to get worse from here. If I had to take a guess, I think that things are going to get, if I was a betting man, I would say from a player and a fan perspective, much worse. I think that their share prices will continue to have issues, but I do think long term that they'll recover. They're a smart enough company to figure it out long term, but I am, especially after this last week in the stock market and how dunked on they're getting, it's going to be a rough few months. And I think that they're going to do the things that the players don't want to see to fix their stock prices, to focus on profits. And it's going to piss off the players. And that's what we've really seen since really the crackdown on IP and other creators in general, where they're like, hey, we're going to start going after people who use our IP, which is like, yes, I guess they're using it, but it's not in the way that you think they are. And there's a much larger argument that, like, I mean, it's helping.
That
It's
whole
free
thing was such
advertising.
bullshit, though.
It's crazy.
Like, they didn't go after anybody. Everybody freaked out for no reason because they said that, like, don't do this. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, how can I? Like, they were like basically saying, if you're making something good, we're going to pay you to do it, and you're going to make it for us because it's good.
Yeah.
But like, don't. It was really like Nintendo's way worse about protecting their IP.
Yeah,
Fucking
dude,
Disney's
they're
way worse about
crazy.
protecting their IP.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything that, like, they didn't come after anybody. Like, seriously, all of that shit was like, I was like, everybody needs to stop freaking out right now because they haven't done anything. And it was
Yeah.
like, I can't do my channel. And so, like, all these huge creators were shutting down. There was never a single cease and desist that went out. Like,
Yeah.
as far as I know, not a single one. And it just shows how fragile this community is. Like, straight up, like, we're fucking fragile. And
Yeah.
so, like, we just want to do what we do, and we want to be left alone. We're very libertarian. Like, hey, we do this thing. We're not trying to ruin anybody else's shit. We're not trying to, like, be this. But the second there was even an instant of, like, a little bit of pushback from the company, the whole community, like, was like, I can't believe Games Workshop's doing this. Is like, doing what? They didn't do shit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really under the impression that, like, until someone sends you a cease and desist or, like, politely asks you to change your life, like, you get to keep on living your life. Otherwise, like, what's the fucking point? Like, you
Yeah.
can't live every single day wondering if this thing is going to be pulled out from underneath you. Otherwise, like, there's just no reason to be alive. Like, like, I don't live in fucking fear but by these people. And people like Games Workshop is doing the worst thing in the world. And, like, you guys, you don't know the worst thing in the world because, like, you still have a home, you still have this. They could fucking sue you into the ground. That's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Saying that they're going to protect their IP is just what all of these companies have to do. Like, it's
Yeah,
the same
it
thing. Like,
was weird.
the Games Workshop every, like, couple years releases some more Middle Earth fantasy battle game stuff just so they can keep the Tolkien, like, thing. And, like, they haven't released anything new in forever. They just re-release old stuff. And so it's like they do it to keep the IP. That's
Yeah.
it. They're just, like, keeping this one thing going. I don't think that they're gonna come after anybody else. Like, this is like I got feelings. I got feelings about how people react to this stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you guys need to have a thicker skin.
Yeah, I agree with you long term now, like where we've ended up with that. But I do remember when it came out and how, like, it was such a, like, a veiled threat, the way that they kind of, like, presented it. And I think that a lot of
Absolutely.
people, I don't know what, for better or for worse, flipped out. Content creators just shut down. They're
They
like,
did.
cool, I guess I
They
can't
did.
make content anymore. And it's like, well, I don't know if that's a right or a wrong response based on what they said, because the way that they came out with some of that was, like, very, like, we will literally burn your business to the ground. And it was like, holy shit, man. Like, what? And, like, so
Yeah.
I think now when we look back, like, yeah, they didn't really target anybody. And it seems like there hasn't been anything that we're aware of. But, like, the way that that got announced was just shady. It felt weird. Everybody flipped out. Everybody's like, what the hell's happening? But they have had some weird moments since then. Like, did you know about the manual copyright claim against Midwinter Minis? Did you know that headline?
Mm-mm.
So since the IP thing, this was after
Oh wait,
within like a month
because
or
of
two.
his song
No,
that was used.
he had a piece of, he had a video out on YouTube. This was after the IP fiasco in the first place. This was like a month or two following it. He put out a video and I can't remember what it was about, but I do remember that he posted a follow-up video that explained what happened to the video that he posted. So he made a video, and within the first, like, hour or two that it was up, it was manually struck for copyright. So it wasn't an algorithm. So that means that Games Workshop went to YouTube to say, this is our stuff. He can't do this. He can't make this
That
video.
was the one where he showed stuff from Warhammer Plus. Like, that's what it was.
And
He
that's what it was?
showing clips. Yeah, and so they were like, this is ours. You can't show this. And he had to fight it because it was a fair use thing. It's like, no, I totally can.
Right. And
like,
so
we can do this.
Yeah. And so he basically went to them and was like, look, I'm going to do this. And then, like, oh, sorry, we didn't mean to do that. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
And he was like, you can't sorry me. You owe me missed revenue. You manually striked this and you shouldn't have. So there has, I would say that's the only that I'm aware of specific example of them doing something copyright enforced related since then, at least at a large enough level that it was common knowledge.
Sure.
And
It was very much like the green stuff world in Naomi and the shifters color shifting paint debacle, you know, very similar, where you're just like, I don't know if that was the right way to do it, but like later on, Guy found out that like one of the songs that they used in one of the Warhammer Plus things was one of his songs. Like like the song is so close to one of his compositions that he could easily do the exact same back to them, you know, like, you know, he can totally DMCA them off of it, and they would have to defend that it isn't. So, you know, it's one of those things. You know, I think that, you know, we're all in glass houses, so throwing stones is not really like the smart thing to do. And community goodwill is like smart to keep going forward. But as far as them being as predatory as everybody says, I don't know if I buy it that
they're
much.
more predatory on their consumers than their creators. They could definitely care less about what creators are doing. They're like, oh, you want to buy Warhammer?
Yeah.
Guess what?
Look it up.
Guess what? Yeah. So that's, I don't know. I hope long term they sort it out. I think it's going to be a rough next 6 months. Games Workshop releases. I think I was talking about this with my Warhammer team. I was like, I think we're going to have some very overtuned books that are going to get nerfed into the ground after they sell all their models. I think we're going to have some shit that's going to happen that's going to really piss off the player base, which is going to not hurt the stock price as much as it should, but it's going to help them correct the stock price while they piss off their fans, which will long-term mess up their stock price. It's a weird thing that they're approaching, but it's been a bad couple weeks of Games Workshop. So I hope they figure it out. I have the faith that they will, but it's going to be a weird next chapter.
I think that they will do about as much as they always do. Like, I don't have a whole lot of faith that they even really care that much. Like, I think that like their games design place, the fact that they're still doing it the way it's been done for like the last 30 years means that they don't give a shit about like your time and how much fun you have playing a game. Like Becca on Discourse, she literally just did a thing about a Kickstarter today that's a card-based war game. And I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting because it doesn't take up a lot of space. I could kind of get behind that. And she was like, it's sometimes really hard to set up a table, to do a thing, to like dedicate an entire day to playing a war game. Like, I like everything about playing a war game except for playing a war game. And that's how I feel a lot about them. And as soon as she said that, I was like, I'm glad that she actually like is talking about it in a way that I think a lot of us, like, I think most of us like to say that we play the games a lot more than we do. But like, besides like you and your team, I don't know a lot of people who actually play the games. I think we collect. I think we, you know, and I think that's what makes it even worse, is that we are worried about games and rules and things that, you know, like actually don't even matter to us because they've triggered that weird FOMO thing, and like suddenly your collection is going to be worthless, which is totally bullshit because like I have actually like made money or like broke even on every. All right, I'm going to direct us closer to the main topic. Today we're going to talk about being in the deep end of things. And sometimes when you're in the deep end of things, you end up getting a collection of stuff, and sometimes you can't have it all, and so you have to sell it. And I have sold a lot of Warhammer, of which I have got hurt very little on it, if any. And sometimes I've made money off of it, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with I love playing war games, except for the playing the war games part of things. I totally get that. It's a lot. And like I used to play a lot of 40K. Like early last year, I'd say probably the first half of 2021, I was playing 8 to 12 probably Warhammer matches a month. And
that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's like way more than anybody I know.
Yeah, 2 games every Tuesday, sometimes offline games on like Tabletop Simulator or something, probably once a week.
I hate
Um,
tabletop simulator
I do
war games. It's just,
too. I do
oof,
too. Like, there's a part of me that really likes it for like list testing and just like a quick, like, hey, you got like an hour or so or 2 hours. Like, hey, let's
sure,
just play a quick game online. And it's cool because like I can connect and play Warhammer with my friends that I don't live anywhere near. You know, like I played some
sure.
Warhammer with like streamer friends. You know, and it's like, dude, I don't. The chances of us actually ever hanging out and playing 40K is like very low. So this is cool to be able to
Right.
do that. But other
Sure.
than that, it's horrible. It's a horrible experience. It's very clunky. It's like
Yeah.
glitchy. It's awful, but it was playing. And especially there were certain weeks where like COVID was so weird that it was like, let's just play tabletop simulator this week. So I
Yeah.
used to play a lot, but the last like 6 months I've barely been playing. So I'm trying to get more into it, play it. And this is my current Nurgle project right here that's sitting on the desk. But yeah,
Your
dude.
3D printed Nurgle project that won't be game legal if Games Workshop ever does anything on their own.
Well, see, that's the thing though, is they're so unofficial with their matches. Like official
Yeah.
Games Workshop tournaments, they exist, but like it's
I
like
don't think
the
they've
US
happened
Open,
in
you
like
know?
I don't think they've happened in like 8 years.
They've
Like I
been
think
doing
it's
them.
been one of those have they?
Yeah, they
Okay,
have
because
like
I
an
thought that
official
they haven't
thing.
done
Yeah.
any of them.
Yeah, they've actually
Wait, no, they did
sponsored.
like 3 last year, didn't they?
Yeah,
Like
they have
3.
like a official tournament circuit that like
Yeah.
it's like a big thing. But yeah, so I couldn't play this army there, but at literally every other tournament I could. And so
Yeah.
it's like, you know, we'll kind of see where it goes. But yeah, as far as like Warhammer and there's dude, there's money to be made. And when you get in the deep end of Warhammer, you can flip shit if you're like, man, I got too many models. If you do it right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm there. I'm there. So let's shift. Let's get to the main topic because we could just sit and kvetch and go back and forth for forever, which I love, and I love the fact that like we have that sort of rapport that we can do it. But one of the things that makes us so similar is that from when we were wee tots running around on the schoolyard, we were hustling like motherfuckers. Everything was a way to like min max, life, to like get through, to make the most out of something. We've always been in the deep end on shit. And I think that there are some great life lessons that can come out of it, good and or bad.
Hmm.
So let's go back to the beginning. What is your
Yeah.
earliest memories of being in the deep end besides a swimming pool?
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, just getting in the deep end with hobbies, that's like primarily the focus is just hobby related or just like, hey, what did I just get way too deep into?
Everything. It doesn't matter because I think that the through thread is that of somebody who is high functioning, neurodivergent, the OCD, like we've got so many things moving that like we can't help but do this. There is only the deep end. They're wading through a kiddie pool makes no
Yeah.
sense. The deep end's for winners.
I think the first real deep end for me was sixth grade Pokemon cards, dude. It was that, like, because I was thinking about it. I was like, I always had like Legos as a kid. Like, I can remember having a lot of Legos, but it's like when you're really young, you don't really appreciate what that really feels like. You're like, yeah, there's like Legos. Like, I have friends who have
Sure.
more, I have friends who have less. I have Legos, but and like when I look back, I feel like I had a shitload of Legos, but I was too young to like know what having a shitload of Legos was. I was like, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but I think the first time in my life that I can remember being like, well, I have a lot of this was Pokemon cards.
Dude, in my like for me early on it was Nintendo.
Hmm.
Very much a Mario kid growing up, and so I was just like obsessed with Mario. And then music hit and it was Michael Jackson. And so like I bought every Michael Jackson tape that I could, and like like music has just always been something that I'm just like, oh, this, that. And so I'd like be on like the playground with like my Discman and have a sign up sheet so you could listen to my tapes for like 5 minutes. And it was just like this thing that I always like had. And then it was the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan, very into Michael Jordan, and people with the initials MJ, I think was just like a part of my life for a while. But then in 6th grade, I met some nerd friends, and we were very much into a game called Marvel Overpower, which was like pre-Pokemon, and it only really had a couple years of life. but it was this game that like I could collect and be deep into it, and we would like buy boxes of booster packs and like trade the ultra rares and shit like that, you know, like and then that went into Magic the Gathering. None of us touched the Pokemon, even though like we all played Pokemon cards was like the
Right.
bridge too far for us.
Because you guys were just playing on like the Game Boy. You were just playing like the
Yeah.
yeah, dude, that was
Red and blue, man. On the old brick, the gray brick. I actually still have my chiptune Game Boy around here somewhere. That like, it's I don't know where it's at, but it's here. I still have it out, and it can still play video games, which is nice.
That's so. I never had a Game Boy. I didn't really have a game system until I was like probably 17 or 18.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
How the hell did that happen?
My parents were just like, no video game systems in the house. And I was like, what the fuck?
I mean, like, my parents were not thrilled by it because the second that they figured out that I would do anything to save up money to buy it on my own, like I was just kind of like an inside kid. I was like, oh, I'm not going outside and getting sunburnt. Fuck that.
Yeah. I had like PC games though, which was always weird, right? Like I would have like, I was playing like, you know, Diablo on PC, like Wolfenstein. Like I grew up playing those, but
Sure.
I never had a game system, and I don't know why. It was just one of those things. And then we got older, and then we kind of just me and my brother just kind of like went to go buy one and plugged it in, and nobody really said anything. And we're like, I guess we have a Nintendo Wii now. You know, it was like,
it took you to the Wii.
Holy
I think
shit. That was the first system we had in the house.
Oh my God.
I know.
I was like regular NES. And then I worked all summer with my dad to move the machine shop, of which I just closed. And he bought me a Super Nintendo for that. So like that was like our like birthday present. Like worked all summer. Here's a Super Nintendo for, you know, sacrificing your summer for us.
Yeah.
Then it was like Game Boys. Then I sold my Game Boy for a Game Gear, which was a really bad idea because the Game Gear sucked. But then the Game Boy Advance came back, and then I've got all my old games back and played like Game Boy Advance stuff. I've always been a Nintendo kid. Like still to this day, if I'm not playing my Switch, I'm just probably not playing video games anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't have the Game Boy to play Pokemon, but we were deep in the Pokemon cards. Deep.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So did you like collect? Did you trade? Like what was your game? Like how did you make this a thing? Like, and how did it become so important to you if the game wasn't part of your life?
So I was in on like the child wave, like of watching the show. Because I think I was in like 5th grade when the show was like peak hype, you know, like just coming like that summer between 5th and 6th grade where you're like, I'm an adult now anyways. You like, you know what I mean? So I was in peak Pokemon hype phase, and it was right when the card game had come out. So it was easy. Like I had seen every episode. So I was just into like the show. And so then when I knew there was a card game coming out and the hype, you couldn't get it. I remember like months of like me and my mom like calling video game stores and like driving around my little game. Like it was like me and my brother in the backseat, my mom up front, like, oh, I called this video game store. They might have a starter pack. We got to get there right now. And we like eventually finally hunted it down. And then it was just at the same time, I mean, I feel like tons of people in my middle school, my friends group, everybody was like in the same boat. So a lot of us were into like collecting, trading, and playing. Like we were just all in, like the whole thing. And so I would say it was so funny because we had briefly discussed this the other day over just text, like, hey, what's, you know, like, what did you first get into? But now that I think about it, I think Pokemon was like my first entrepreneur adventure. And like so much shit started there where I was like, that's fucking weird, because it's the same things I do now where it's like, I see the value in something, but I know a good trade when I see it, or I know something that might have more value than it costs. And so, I started just trading up cards. I only got the starter set, maybe a couple of like booster packs, but ended up with like, you know, a binder full of cards from just trading around. And eventually had literally a binder full of cards and was just selling them on the playground. like just hustling Pokemon cards at lunch. And like me and a couple of my other buddies who are doing the same thing would get in trouble with the teachers because it was like we were selling these cards for like $5 a pop, you know? And it's like when you're
Sure.
in sixth grade in the, you know, the 90s, $5 wasn't too bad. And it
Yeah,
was
no,
like,
I've definitely been there. And
yeah,
they got unreasonably mad at us like learning economics.
yeah,
Like it was school. It was
yeah,
school. We were
yeah.
playing, but it was still school.
I was exploring capitalism. Like, let me do that.
Yeah.
Let me learn about this. But so yeah, that was probably the very first adventure into like me noticing, even as a kid, being like, I have a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. I definitely feel very similar. I had like those boxes of cards. And then so I
Yeah.
had like the extras that were just like a big box of cards. Then I'd have like the good stuff in the smaller box. And then I'd have like my like deck box for the thing that I kept with me to play with. I had tons of weird stuff like that that was just like, what am I doing? Like
Yeah.
why? And my backpack was always so heavy from these cards that I was rolling around.
Yeah. And
And
the,
you know,
it was like the white cardboard boxes.
yeah, and you
Yes,
draw
dude.
stuff all over it.
Yes.
I think I still have mine here somewhere. I
Oh,
gave my nephew he just turned 15. I gave him all my old Magic cards, of which I know that there's still some like Arabian Night stuff in there. There's like early Magic because like I got into Magic when I think third edition came out, or revised edition was the one. That was when I started. And so I had some really weird early valuable things. And he was dating this girl, and she was way into Magic. I was like, dude, let me send you fucking all these things, and she'll think that you're way cooler than what you are. It does me no good, but if it like takes you a step closer to becoming a man,
yeah.
I support that.
So Magic was your card game. So did you trickle into other card games as a result from like trade? Because were you like trading Magic cards also? Was it the same thing? You were just
Oh yeah.
collecting, trading, playing, just doing it all?
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, people needed cards. The one thing I never did, because I never could really swing the go to a game store and buy a card for like $11 retail. Like I didn't understand like why would I spend $10 on this card when I could buy 5 booster packs for that
Yes.
and maybe get this. And so like I would always buy the booster packs, trade out the rare stuff. And so like I had, yeah, Magic was the one that like I had the entire set of Fallen Empires, which was really cool at one point in time. I have no idea what happened to it. I probably traded it for weed at a certain point, you know. It's
Yeah.
like one of those things that like now I'm kind of like, damn it, that would be nice to have. I
Yeah.
did the same thing with comic books though too. You know, you just like buy the things, hold on to them, read them a couple times, and then people will be like, "Hey, I've got this Spider-Man series," and I'm like, "Yeah, let's trade. You know, here's some Ninja comics. Let's do this."
Yeah. Dude, I was thinking about this like a year and a half ago, and I was like tearing my parents' house up looking for it because I have or had and can't find it. Spoiler to this story, almost the entire first edition Pokemon card set. I
Ooh,
had
some of those are so valuable now
I
too. It's
know,
absurd.
dude, especially like a year and a half ago, because my buddy was like, he was telling me that there was like some digital card trading game. And I was like, is Pokemon cards popular again? He's like, well, the digital game's really cool, but people are like looking after the physical cards again and they're about to explode on the market. And I was like, no shit. But dude, I had like almost the whole first edition set. I had like 148 out of the 150. And it was like,
Wow.
and I know that's what I still had, even after like getting rid of all my shit and selling off and like getting into other card games. But like, I know I have that. And I know I would not have gotten rid of it like that many years ago because I knew that I wouldn't have gotten rid of it for the value that they were then when I got out of Pokemon. It
Right.
was like nothing. It was like, I have this whole set. You're not going to give me like $20 for it. I'm just going to keep it, you know? And
Right.
like now, dude, if I would have been able to hunt that down, it would have been worth many thousands of dollars. And it's like, I know
Yeah,
they
probably.
exist somewhere and I have no idea where. And it's like just ridiculous, dude. Like to almost have the full complete set because then it's like now I know what I know about business. I would buy the 2 cards that I'm missing and then I've got the full set. And it's like now your values like Moon Wen,
Yeah.
where's my Lamborghini? And like that's That drives me nuts. So did you?
Dude, could you imagine if you were able to buy something as luxurious as like a Lamborghini for your old Pokemon cards? Like, like,
Okay.
look what I have.
Did you
Look what I
follow
have.
this the fake Pokemon card story it was one of the Paul brothers? Do you know about this?
Yeah,
The
I
three
like
and a half
anytime people are,
million dollars
yeah.
just
It's
fake
insane.
Pokemon cards. He bought a
Yeah.
case of never opened cards in the shrink wrap that were appraised by a shop as legit, and then they take them out of the shrink wrap and they are fake. And the guy who owns the shop is with him while he's unwrapping them. The guy who
It's
appraised
just
it and said, this is definitely worth $3 million and will be worth more after you buy it,
wow.
on the couch with him
Wow.
while he finds out that they're
Oof,
fake. So there is
dude, that's
Lambo money.
brutal.
Pokemon is Lambo money. That's a real
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, like my vintage video game collection got me out of credit card debt 5 years ago or 6 years ago, whenever I started building synthesizers. And also helped pay for my medical bills when I had my ulcer and all of that, of which then turned into Warhammer and Kingdom Death and all this stuff. Like I get really deep into these weird collectible things, and then when that thing is no longer serving me anymore, I turn it into the next thing. And so, like, unfortunately, a couple times I've made some dumb ideas where I've like, oh well, I need this and I need this and then that, and suddenly I'm like $2,000-3,000 in credit card debt, and I just need to like pay that off now, so I'm not spending 19% interest every month on it. So like, it makes sense to like sell some shit and get out of debt quickly, but it also means that I have had video games where I'm like, that's worth $300 now. I sold that for $40. And I sold it for $40 like 6 years ago, not even that long ago, like shit like that.
Yeah. I would say that's something that I've gotten better at understanding random appreciation of hobbies, specifically the last couple of years through Warhammer, because it's so weird.
Yeah.
But like thinking back about like Pokemon cards and the same sort of mentality that I would have now to like deep end hobby stuff, like being deep into Warhammer is completely different
Yeah.
than being deep into Pokemon, because now I just see dollar signs everywhere. I'm like, I am never going to open that. I'm going to buy that and put it in a fucking box forever. And like, now I really get that. And, but it's also still like, could work, maybe not, but it's super weird because,
Sure.
so like, you mentioned like trading things around or going from like hobby to hobby and using that money to fuel the next one. That's how I got into Warhammer. I don't know if I ever told you this story. So this was like peak me dying from not knowing I had celiac disease and was like losing a pound a day and was losing my mind on top of that. Like,
Oof.
it was
Yeah,
during
that's
that
scary
phase.
shit.
It was so bad, dude. But during that phase, my primary hobby, and it was like really one of my only hobbies. I had a couple other ones, but this was like my soak up hobby. This was like my 80% of my free time is this hobby, was golf.
Sure.
And I was in a men's league. And so I was playing these old guys for money every Thursday night. And the season had just finished, just got back from our season tour wrap up and had a bunch of money in my pocket. And basically was like, well, I can't even really play golf anymore because it was like the end of September. It's kind of the end
Sure.
of golf season anyways, where it's like, it's kind of cold. It's not as fun. It's still fun, but like I'm not out as much. And so
Right.
I was like, cool, season's done. I'm not feeling good. I need an at-home hobby. So I just took my golf money and bought my first Warhammer starter set. And that's what funded the whole
That
thing.
was it.
That was it. And that Warhammer starter set turned into pretty much everything. It's ridiculous.
Dude, I mean, like, I totally get that. I mean, I've never done any golf stuff like that, but uh, I don't know. Like when you are thinking about what you're doing in your time, is the financial investment into it and being able to get out of it something that dictates your level of commitment, or do you just like, something interests me, I'm gonna get deep into it regardless? How does your brain work on that?
Pre Warhammer, I would say I would not have considered the financial gains on like your exit strategy. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
but I think that Warhammer is definitely the hobby that I've gone the most after from like a how can I make money on this passion thing that I've ever done by like a landslide. And I've monetized basically every hobby I've ever had, but
Right.
it is in comparison to Warhammer, it's like I've never done any of that. Like the amount of focus that I have on how to make money and flip stuff and the money potential I see as a side hustle is also nothing like anything else I've ever been around. Like if you really look at Warhammer as a side hustle, you can make buckets of money. But
Yeah.
pre Warhammer, I would say that I would just be like, if I want to do this, I want to experience all of this. And like
Yeah.
whatever that means to experience it is to me worth it. And then,
Sure.
you know, I think a lot of the stuff that I've gotten into for the most part has some sort of a financial exit strategy. But like, you know, I've been really into golf a lot for a long time in my life. Golf doesn't have a financial exit strategy. Your gear gets worth fractionally less money, well, exponentially less money actually every season.
Yeah.
Every season is
Yeah.
worth so much less than it used to be.
Yeah.
And so there is no financial exit strategy from golf unless you go pro and earn your way out of the gear that you've bought. But that's it. You know, like you don't,
Yeah.
you know, but, and I think that's what's always been so weird about Warhammer is I could at any point in time buy a box of Warhammer, paint it and sell it for more than I bought it for. And so there's a very different side to that. But previous to Warhammer, I would have never thought about like, hey, is this a lot of money to get into this thing? I would have just said, I want to do this. Let's do it, you know? And it wasn't like
Right.
writing off the house to get into like a hobby, but it was like I would have never thought about how much of this shit do I own and do I really even want to buy all this, you know?
Sure. Sure. I think for me, I was always just more like obsessed with stuff. I was raised very modestly. My parents hate when I use the term poor because to them they don't think that we were poor. They were very frugal, but like truth be told, my like there was no cash coming into the house except for my mom, and my mom only worked 3 days a week as a dental hygienist. So taking care of four people on 3 days a week of work, you know, there's no way that we weren't poor. You know,
Yeah.
like, and so every dollar that was spent had to be something that I maximized my amount of fun over. And so like I would obsess about the things that like I really wanted, and then I would save and then I would get them. I think it's part of the reason why now, like it, because I don't have responsibilities of kids, it's really hard for me to stop the obsession because like now I'm focused. I'm like, fuck it, I can just buy this thing. And like, you know, there was a point in time where we lived in camp trailers. And so like sharing a camp trailer with your little brother, it like you can't just don't have room for stuff. And now I
Yeah.
look at my like studio, which is like 4 times the size of my camp trailer, and it is filled to the brim with toys. Like as an adult, I have way more toys than I ever have as a kid. And I don't think that the focus has changed like at all. The amount of research and like mental thought that goes into it, I think is still very similar, which I don't know if is a good thing or a bad thing. It like I can't quite I can't quite balance whether or not I'm doing it right or not. I know that I haven't financially crashed and needed to be like bailed out, but I know I've had to make really weird financial decisions that like I kind of wish I would have been able to wait on, like selling my video game collection and stuff like that. So I'm trying to like understand what, you know, like there is absolutely a drawback of the deep end. Like it's really
Yeah.
fun to get like immersed into something, but the drawback of the deep end is like missed opportunity, the opportunity cost because you're over leveraged into something else, or you know you are, you know, like turning off like your friends because you are so obsessed into things. Like I've known so many people who do that too, where like they can't shut it off. Like when I got into close up card magic, that was probably the most annoying time for my friends because they had to fucking deal with me like, you know, doing like weird sleight of hand tricks on them just because I was practicing and I was really fucking bored. Like I kind of feel bad for all of the people that had to be around me while I was doing close up card magic because I just, I mean, I don't think I was horrible, but there was like one trivia night where I was hiding cookies in one of my buddies, like his jacket, in like his pants. Like I would slide cookies into his pants pocket and he had no idea I was doing it. And so he'd go in to like grab his cigarettes and there'd be like an Oreo cookie in there. Like, you found a cookie, you got to eat it. And so like by the end of the night, he was just like so sick of eating cookies because I had just like loaded him up with cookies all night long. Like that's an annoying thing to do to somebody. But because I was in the midst of my like super deep end, like really entertaining myself to the max, I just was like, no, this is fucking funny as shit.
That's dude. This is a perfect example of why sometimes the deep end is the best end, man. Just some guy's pocket is full of cookies, and you're like, "How about that trick, bro?" And he's like, "Dude, if I eat another cookie, I'm gonna be sick." And you're like, "Check your pocket."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Behind your ear.
Oh my god, dude!
My favorite thing is like I hid it in his leftovers. So like the next day when he went to work and he had like things that he took for like lunch, there was cookies in his leftovers that he didn't even know that I did. And he was just like, "You motherfucker."
Oh my god, dude! It's so whether I think you're in the deep end or the shallow end. I think one thing that I've learned from just primarily getting into things very deeply is like yeah, I guess opportunity costs. Like, what is this really gonna cost? You know?
Sure.
And because it's not just financial stuff, you know what I mean? So, like, for example, I
No.
see Warhammer as a business and a vessel and a side hustle, and I flip armies, right? If I see an army at a price point that I like, that I confidently believe I could repaint and put on the market and make money, I will pursue that. And one of the weird things that comes up with that all the time is the colossal amount of shit that just comes with armies. So it's like, you know, you buy a used army from somebody that was playing it. Well, they're probably getting rid of the rule book too. I think I have 3 of the current edition Space Marine Codex. What the fuck do I have? I have 3 of them. Like, and so like you
Right.
just accumulate things as a part of like flipping Warhammer. I've learned like I have a wall of just boxes full of sprues, like just
Yeah.
because people will be like, oh yeah, here's all the bits from when I built it too. And I'm like, thank you. This is actually cool, but not thank you because now I have a box of shit I need to store, or I have to spend the time to cut it all off the sprue and organize. Either way, cool, but god damn it, you know? And so I think that
Yeah.
there's opportunity costs with anything that you get into that I have started to observe more throughout my life being primarily a deep end person because it's like, yeah, let's get all the
Yeah.
way into this. And it's like, oh shit, I own a lot of this now. And like, yeah, physical space is like a weird thing that you're like, where am I going to put this? You know, like I'm literally in the middle of trying to think about how I could reorganize my studio space here to be more efficient for what I do content wise, job wise, like everything right now. And it's like, how do I balance that with like just some of the sheer volume of shit I've collected the last couple of years from just flipping armies? Like I just have boxes of cut out sprues and it's like, what the do I just take a day to just cut sprues to reduce some of that, you know? And it's like,
It'll be way more than a day because I've tried doing that. I have the exact same box of which I've now got it like condensed down. I think I'm in 3. Remember when Kill Team used to come in those like cool orange boxes in the last edition of Kill
yeah,
Team? I think I have 3 of those boxes full of random sprue bits, just like full. And I just like can't cut them all out, but I cut out most of this empty sprue. And so like, and then every couple months I go back and I clip a little bit more out of it. It's like the ever dwindling down bit box. And I think I've got 3 of them full. And I was looking at them the other day. I was like, I should just throw this shit away. I should just throw this shit away. It just takes up too much space. And then I'm like, but I could use this for a thing of which I'll probably never use it for a thing. And then there's like, I feel guilty. I sometimes feel guilty because like, I'm sure in your discords and like me, like people want that stuff
yeah.
and it almost feels like a curse to give it to someone. You know, it's like did you watch the movie It Follows?
No, but
Oh, dude. So It Follows, the 99% sure that's the name of it. It Follows came out a couple years ago. I gotta double check this now because it's all about a monster that would follow you.
dude,
Follows. Yeah, It Follows. It's a monster that it's like a sexually transmitted disease. So if you have sex with somebody, the monster now comes after you, and nobody else can see the monster but you. And so like, and if the monster grabs you, it kills you. Like it'll like absorb your life, and then it goes back to the last person that who gave it to you. So the goal is to have sex with as many people to get like that monster so many steps away from you that hopefully you won't just wake up in the middle of the night and this monster kills you. That's what I feel like some of these things are. They're like the
Yeah.
fucking mandible. They like keep you completely locked down, and here's like, yes, it's so good to have, and it's especially if you get into kit batching, but it's also like a total like uh just like, the crutch is the wrong term, but that's all that keeps on coming up. It feels like a life sentence having to keep all of that stuff around. You know.
Yeah, it's almost like sprues are like the ghost of a leftover project, and it's just gonna
Yeah,
live in your house and fucking haunt you and be like, "Hey, remember that
yeah,
time that you did this project but never cut the little pieces off the rest of the sprue? You just thought you'd get to it. Guess what? You didn't, and it's still
yeah,
in a box." And it's
dude,
like,
yeah. It's totally that. And man, and like when I was doing synth DIY stuff, I have boxes of resistors and capacitors because again, same thing. People give me
yeah,
weird shit. Like I have all this cool stuff that like I will probably never use, but I can't get rid of because like if any of this shit breaks, like I need to repair it now because like nobody repairs this stuff. And I'm just like,
yeah.
what have I got myself into?
Dude, you just end up with stuff like, and it
Yeah.
will like haunt you. I think you have to learn really good like inventory management and time management because you're like, I just have to deal with this. Like, you have to put aside time to deal with the fact that you decided to have a hobby. You're like, God
Yeah.
damn it, I have hobby admin time. And that's
Yeah.
something that kind of happens. Dude, so I used to do the same thing when I was producing records, and I still have it. There's a plastic storage tub, 55-gallon or quart or whatever, you know, the big ass ones, of
Yeah.
every audio cable ever. And it was like, just roll it up. I'm going to throw it in there. Someday I'll go through and organize them by type.
Yep.
Never happened.
Never happened.
So,
Nope. Nope.
and now it's just like this ghost of my producer past that lives in every house I go to. And it's just like, if you need an audio cable, it's in there. You're gonna have to dig, but it's in there. So like you don't want to get rid of it because you know, like I go in there all the time. Like whenever I redo like wiring, you know, like when I set up, you know, the DJ setup and the speakers and my monitors up here, I had to dig out so many like weird cables and try different combos and different adapters. And I'm like, I've got all that shit, which is awesome. But like I use it once a year, twice a year, and it's just like I have it. I know where it is.
I mean, this cable that I'm listening to earbuds with, because I want to try to make our production value like a little bit cleaner for people so they don't actually accidentally get any ghosting and stuff. I pulled this out of my box of cables. I was like, I need an extension thing because I don't want to get another set of Bluetooth headphones to just sync to this. Like, I'm so
Yeah.
tired of that shit, man.
Yeah, and I would say my primary hobbies right now are big time ghost accumulators. Like camera
Yeah.
equipment, you collect ghosts, and it's in the form of boxes. For some reason, like you feel this
Are you
bizarre
a box keeper? Do you
for
keep your
camera
boxes?
equipment. I am like, I can't, I'm trying to get rid of more and I threw away a bunch of them. But I was like, when I was redoing kind of like my setup, probably about every few months, I like really tear apart everything down here and think about why I own it, why it exists, why is this still here? And I try to get rid of as much as possible. I'm constantly trying to purge. But like,
Yeah.
the last time I did that, I was like, holy shit, this is the box for the very first DSLR I bought like 3 years ago. I still have it. And I'm like, why the fuck do I have this? Like, I'm clearly not returning this. And it's like,
Yeah.
but like camera people, when you sell a camera, if you have the original box, it just sells for better. And so it's like,
Dude, I have an empty Nintendo 64 box in my closet now that I literally brought back on the plane in a like checked baggage. Like I brought home my original basketball collection, an N64 box, and that wood that I am making all those plinths out of
yeah,
right now. Of which like just like the amount of deep end hobbies that I'm in right now is just insane. It feels actually completely overwhelming, and I think it's at the point where it's starting to affect my relationship. Like I think she's like, "The fuck is wrong with you, Heath?" I'm like, I just don't know. I just don't know.
Dude, I feel like I feel like I'm in a deep end of my even deep end hobbies right now too. I can relate to that. I feel like because
Yeah,
I was just having this discussion yesterday with my wife. And like also same topic, I'm like, I'm at the purge point right now. Like I'm at my purge peak where I'm like, I got to get rid of shit. I don't know why I own this stuff. And
yeah,
so like I'm in that cycle right now. So that's funny that you'd say that. Cause yeah, I feel like I am just staring at stuff that I have and I'm like, I know why I have this, but like, why do I have it? Like, why do I
why do
really have this? And
yeah,
like, so I'm trying to like reorganize kind of what I have, what projects I really have coming up, what do I really need? And it's like, I just got so many dumb projects. I got so many dumb
yeah,
hobbies. Only one of them's really consistently making me money. So why do I have all this shit for these other hobbies? And it's like, it's bizarre, man. But I'm definitely at that same place right now where I'm like, I need to like organize and clean up and streamline like my projects again to make
sure,
sure that I'm
sure,
like effective. Cause I think you can get really lost in the deep end, right? Like it's
yeah,
really easy to
absolutely,
have too much stuff that like divides your attention too much, all in one hobby, even. Like you could have one hobby, but like six different things in that hobby, and each one's pulling you from the thing that really got you into the hobby in the first place. And
yeah,
like
oh,
it can
absolutely.
be really I think I noticed when I start to drift and I'm like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And like I kind of am in like meltdown mode, just watching it happen for a while. I'm like, oh no, there it goes. And it's like
So is the camera stuff
sliding.
with you right now? Is that the hill that you're like, uh-oh, I'm getting sucked back into this?
No, I'm always off and on the like getting sucked into the camera train, but it's like I think photography is probably one of my most rewarding hobbies by a lot, which is very
Sure.
weird. I just really like it. And like from a space standpoint, it takes up a fraction of the space of
Very little, yeah.
anything else that I've ever been really into, which is many things. But like like golf takes up a shitload of space. You know how many golf
Yeah.
bags I have full of golf clubs? Where do we put those? Like I'm not gonna just give them away. I'm not gonna sell them. I know what I paid for them. They're worth like $20, and it's like I'm not gonna do that. So it's like I don't know, but maybe I should. And so it's like, but cameras out of all the stuff, cameras I think is like my write off hobby because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I actually could write it off, but also, um, it's like. Mm, it doesn't take up enough space relative to my other things that I'm like, I think I just accept it. I'm like, that one's fine. That one's fine. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that that'll come up to like bite me in the ass someday when I come home and I've got like, 45 soft boxes and my entire basement is like, you know, hanging lights and stuff, which is also maybe in the works. But I don't know. For now it seems like my okay space. It's like just some of
Sure,
my other
sure.
hobbies are just like such space taker uppers. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Dude, I mean, so my big problem right now is like I love modular synthesizers,
Hmm.
and they take up a lot of like floor space because they're not small. And this holiday season I ended up with a new portable synth that I really love, a new like big synth which I really love, and I completed a thing that's kind of been dubbed the Dark Easel. So I have these things kind of out all the time now, and all the spaghetti that comes with them, all the fucking cables everywhere, and I have to take these tests. And there are these proctored exams through my college, and so like there's a webcam set up, and this like person, it's always a woman from India, and I always have a really hard time hearing what they're saying because they got a really heavy accent and they aren't using a microphone, so it's through this weird boomy echoey mic. They're always asking me to put away my musical instruments. It's like no, you don't understand. There is no away. This is what it is. This is all I have. And luckily none of them have been like real jerks, but if they wanted to, they could like say I couldn't take the exam because I have too many distractions around me. And
Wow.
like I'm at that point where I'm like, oh shit, like I am actually putting my future in like jeopardy because of my hobby, of which I love this stuff. And if like there comes like a hard line, school or music, I'm gonna go with music just because I have always been a musician. It's
Right.
one of the most important aspects of my life. And like my wife totally gets that. Like she's never looked at me and said, you need to sell musical equipment. And anytime I go to sell musical equipment, she's like, are you sure you want to do that? It's like literally the only thing that she ever has cared about me selling. Everything else, she's like, yeah, fucking get rid of it. Who gives a shit? It's like the one thing that like, while she doesn't like the cost of the stuff, she gets it. And the fact that I've never really taken a huge L on musical equipment either, so she's like, no, it's got value, like if we need to, we could sell my custom shop Les Paul and be out of we could have a nice down payment on a car with that if need be.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, I'd say that that's probably the biggest thing I've learned about the deep end is things have opportunity costs that you're not aware of when you get into it.
Sure.
And like, I think the more hobbies you do, I think the more that you learn about what potential opportunity costs might exist. But it's like, until you do it, you don't really know. You'll learn stuff along the way and you're like, shit, this hobby actually doesn't just cost this. It also costs this. And it's like, it's super interesting. And I think that I have been exposed to more of that by just totally immersing myself. I just jump in and then I'm like, oh, this is crazy shit, and learn about it eventually. But
so what's your newest deep end? Like what has hit and where you were just like, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here. Like there always is something around the corner with me.
Mine right now that literally started yesterday is looking at redesigning my studio down here in like crazy ways. But I caught myself not doing the full deep end. I'm going to do the full deep end, but I'm going to do it differently than I normally do. And I was talking about this, which is also a huge circle back to episode 1 in a funny way. Usually when I redo my studio space, the first thing I do is unplug and tear apart and take things out of storage for some reason. Everything down here, every single thing gets taken apart and moved. And that is the worst first step ever. And there is no plan to rebuild it. It's just, I'm going to take apart my entire PC setup, my monitors, all my camera, my lighting. I'm going to take it all down and then put it back up. And it's like, there's no plan. And so it's like episode 1, my wife walks in the basement and is like, it's like, dinner time. She's like, so are we going to eat or not? And it's like, and it's still all on the floor. And she's like, you thought you were going to get this done, And so I didn't do it. But it's like, I went into a huge deep end yesterday and just started watching random studio reviews on YouTube for like an hour of like producing studios, creative studios, music studios, art studios, photo studios. And it's like everything that I feel like I kind of do, I kind of wanted to see some examples from each one of those different studios to start to think through like my new creative space. And like, we could talk about this more at the end of the episode, but this thing is like, dude, these are just my notes from yesterday. Like, we'll see if the camera can pick it up. Like, this is one page. This is another page of notes. Like, dude, these are just notes from this thinking session about like.
Is that a rocket book? Did you get yourself a rocket book?
Yeah, I did.
Excellent. Very cool.
That's like my dude. I got so deep into personal space organizing and thinking about what I could do differently down here. And I'm like now in this deep and visualization of what I want my creative work environment like, because I do everything here currently to a degree. My job is still virtual, so I'm here on some days like up to 10-11 hours a day. And so it's got to be very streamlined between the fact that I wake up and start painting at 6 a.m. I go to work at 8 a.m. And I'm off of work at 5, and like being able to transition my day as needed based on what I'm working on, and having everything around me just working for like what I
Sure.
need the space to do. So I right now am deep in studio designing and spent a long time thinking about it. But for the first time, I was like, I'm going to think through my plan before ripping all of this shit apart and
Yeah,
trying
good
to
call.
design it from there. And but that's my deep end right now. And I would say like
I
my
highly
last,
recommend I highly recommend Alpha shelving, because that is what I did here behind me and in this closet here to the left of me. I ripped out all this old shit and like gave me a bunch more floor space, and then I like went up and down, so my collection is like condensed, and the shit that I use most is out, and the things that aren't have places to go. And it has been a fantastic, like relatively affordable way to organize my space. And my wife works at the Container Store, so I get a nice discount on that stuff too, which is like, it's the reason why I have health insurance, and it's the reason why I can organize my shit. Like, highly recommend that as a storage organization solution. They're easy to do, very robust, and look really nice.
yeah. So yeah, I'm deep in that right now. As of
Yeah.
yesterday, I am deep in this, learning about it, reading about it, thinking about it, drawing pictures, writing ideas, trying to think through what do I really want this space to do. I spent 30 minutes yesterday researching LED rope lights. The fuck,
Dude,
man.
I literally so when I sold my business, that was like the first thing that Mal and I tackled. Was like, I had let this room get so cluttered, and just like had piles of shit on the floor. It was bad. It was a physical manifestation of my mental health, is the way I say it. And like, I did all that. Like, I have rope lights everywhere. Don't like have a regular light in here anymore. Basically, like, there is a light, but it's a weird attic. So like, I needed something that, I can move around, or don't have to move, and it just looks good, and I can sit up here for forever. So I thought I was going to do all this stuff. Like, after I sold my business, I was only working 2 days a week. I should have been able to do this like no problem. No, I like it. It was a full-time job cleaning this area, and it was totally the deep end, and it was great, and she would like help me through it. I really appreciate that. But I did not realize what I was getting myself into.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your
Yeah.
latest deep end?
Well, like, I've got 3 going right now, and they've all happened within the last 2 weeks. So my dad gave me some wood that I'm making plinths out of which, like, plinths are a thing that a lot of people don't have any use for them, but people who are doing things like here, like, so this is a bust. It's a creature caster Krampus bust that, like, to display it, you have to like have it on something, and so this little piece of wood becomes like your like plinth. That's your display. Of which I've had this like stupid piece of, like, I think it's poplar or something on there for forever. That doesn't do anything to beautify it. Like, I painted it black, so once it's actually painted, it'll look good. But like, truthfully, like, once you get done with something like that, you want it to look better. And so like I don't know, like, wood is cool, and we have so much amazing like species in the United States that do very bizarre things, like get burled and get spalted, and you can get like really interesting wood grains, and so like, I've been researching how to finish wood, and I've made like 40 plinths in the last 2 weeks, even with the sinus infection. On top of that, I then reignited my love for kilts, because I had a fever dream one night that I was like, I don't have any shorts anymore, and I'm kind of too fat, and like, like, I'm almost 40. Like, I kind of, it's not that I don't think guys shouldn't wear shorts, but also, like, I think at this point, like, if I'm wearing shorts, like, the new stuff always is like a little too thin legged, and and it's like, dad shorts always have like cargo pants on them, which just doesn't feel cool anymore. So I'm like, I might as well just get like a kilt, because if you're gonna go cargo something, it might as well look cool. So like now I'm obsessed with kilts. And then on top of that, now I'm researching shoes, because like, so now I've picked out a couple utility kilts to get here. I got a good discontinued fabric that they aren't used anymore, so I got a great deal on them. I'm going to stain them to the color that I want with like some dye, some RIT dye, so they'll be the look that I want, but I paid half the price for them. I'm like, now I'm kind of looking at shoes. And so like I found this YouTube channel where a dude does nothing but chop boots in half and shows how they're constructed. And I think I watched like 4 hours of his content yesterday because I felt like shit. Like I was like
Yeah.
having like a lot of problems with my antibiotics. And so I just sat there and watched him chop boots in half and talk about what's the best boot and how boots are made. I'm like, see, that's a good boot. I'm learning about boots right now. And my wife was like, why is this the thing that you're into right now? I was like, I literally don't know. I don't know, but here I am watching boots be cut in half. Watch this video. It's pretty good.
Dude, okay, so speaking of boots and going back to fucking the dumbest but best show on TV, Yellowstone right now. I have watched just enough Yellowstone to like literally this weekend I am finally just simping it up and I'm going to go buy a pair of Tacova boots. So were Tacova boots on your boot review?
I don't know if I've seen them. We got really into the Nick boots. Nick's makes like really high end like work boot, and this dude like basically got an indestructible pair of boots and destroyed them. And I was like, this is very satisfying. I love
Hell
this.
yeah.
But like I was like a Doc Martens guy back in the day.
Yeah.
And another thing that like I think I paid $20 for my first pair of Docs, and I wore them for until they were like literally falling off my body. I probably could have gotten them resold again, but the
Right.
leather was cracking and all that shit that just weren't taken care of. And I was like, maybe I should get a pair of Docs, because Docs always look good with kilts, and especially if you got a couple extra pounds around you, like dudes and Docs always looks good. And I was like, they're just built like shit now. And watching the guy chop them in half, I was like, I'm not going to buy a Doc.
It's just not the same
Gotta find a
anymore.
new boot. Nope, it's not the same. Or maybe it is. Who knows? Maybe they've always been garbage. Who knows?
Okay, this is an observation that I think we should discuss.
Okay.
Do you think that we get into the deep end because we like to learn or experience? Because the way that we've been talking about what we get into and why we get so deep into it, have been talking about like the learning about it phase, which is
I love
fucking
learning.
weird. I do too. I feel the same. So do we just get like deep into shit because we want to learn about it?
Well, I mean, I think that like nobody's told us not to learn about stuff. So like that's kind of our default. And it's like, oh, well, if you're interested in something, you should take some like actual interest in it and like
Yeah.
go. And I've been highly criticized for like, especially in the Warhammer community, where I'm just like, this game fucking sucks. And we're just like, oh, Heath's been here for like 6 weeks and he's telling everybody how to do their shit. And it's like, yeah, it's because like while I've learned where it's come from, I'm looking at it from the perspective of like, you guys have spent the last 20 years in here, with the confirmation bias of the like thing that you are into, and you haven't had somebody to say spending 4 hours playing this game is not a fun time. You've never had someone actually tell you that this isn't good.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm challenging that is really upsetting you right now. And so like I've taken weird hits from it, but also like I understand that you do have to learn those things. You do have to put in the time before you actually have an opinion, because otherwise you are just a guy who's shitting on everybody else's stuff and will actually other people. And you gotta learn, otherwise you're just a troll. And I think that's where I'm at. I'd like to come from a point of a little bit of authority and not sound like a complete and total dullard when talking about this stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I just like to learn, and the experience that comes with learning. And I'm an extrovert. Like, it's how I make friends. And I am a lot I don't have a single friend who can hang out with me like 24/7. Like every step of the way, I will find that thing that is the bridge too far with them. Like they're just like, oh, I can't go with you into Mordor, like Frodo. Like they have that line. I'm like, I get it. I have to get into one wheels now, so I'm gonna go do this. So I don't know.
I do the exact same thing, so I get it. That's why I was laughing. I was like, dude, this is me. I do the same thing. I'm like, oh, hey, friend, do you want to get really into this thing with me? Because I need somebody to give this a shot. And they're like, no, man. It's like, all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't get it because like besides like the financial aspect of some of these things, like there's so many. I can't. Can you think of a deep end that you just flat out regret being in? Like I
Oh
can't.
God.
I love
No.
all of the experiences I've had. And then even if like the end ended up being something that kind of was not like a positive, I still like think fondly of the growth that I experienced during that time. So like I don't
Yeah.
know.
I only regret not knowing where my first edition Pokemon cards are. That's it. That is it.
Fair.
That one
Totally
thing would, man, I have no idea what I would do with that. But no, I would say I think for the most part, getting really into something is a good way to meet like-minded people and learn stuff and grow. And like maybe that's why we do it. Maybe like just getting deep into something's kind of like, because I feel I can relate to almost everything you said. Like maybe it's just like a crutch where we're just like, well, I have to get into this hobby deeply because these other things about my personality like won't feel fulfilled unless I'm really into this. And it's like I
Sure.
want to know so much about what I'm into. I want to meet other people who are into what I'm into. And I want to like, challenge the status quo and see what we can do to like push this space to the next place. Like that's what I want out of like everything I do. And like
Sure.
maybe that's why we get deep into it, because it's like maybe it's just like for me, yeah, it's like I want to meet another painter who's like, dude, the system sucks. Here's why you should not do what they tell you to. You know what I mean? Like I want to have a conversation with that person because they think like me. And so it's like that's why I get deep into it, is to meet like-minded people, and that's maybe that's it. Maybe we're just wired to get deep into it because we're like we want something more fulfilling than just saying, "Oh, I do this." It's like, no, like I do this. Like you don't get it.
This is me. Yeah. Well, and I think that there's like a definite like problem there though too. Like, I can say that I have seen those communities become extremely toxic, and we talked about guns last time. Gun culture and gun community sucks. They're awful. Like
Yes.
absolutely awful, because they're like single issue people.
Yes.
And I'm just like, whoa. like I think that you guys are, I can go along with you on a lot of stuff, but like you also need to have something that is more than just, how much ammo you can stock. And, like they don't have the same sort of, I don't know, like, and maybe this is just me being weird, but it's like, because it's taboo, they are like way more into it than they need to be. And I found, I found that getting into the Second Amendment gun culture, even though I came at it from a liberal stance, so like mentally and politically was much more aligned with the people I was dealing with, their level of like guns are what they do is like beyond anything else I've ever seen. It is their identity. Where for me, the thing isn't the identity. The deep end, the travel, the experience is my identity. I am a traveler, and for them, it's like they found their home and they are not moving out of it.
Yeah.
So like that's when I was like, okay, the deep end actually isn't as good.
Yeah, I've had a very similar experience with the gun community. I think that's pretty spot on for how things were for me as well, and what I kind of observed during my
Yeah.
definitely big kick into it. Like, because I haven't gone shooting in a while, and mostly a lot of that's just cost related, which is hilarious. Speaking of financials of getting deep into a hobby, like I had this financial advisor that I talked to years ago, and he was like, he was a gun guy, and it got brought up, because he was joking about you should only invest in like index funds and and lead.
And guns.
And that was it. That was it. He's like, those are the only two things you need to be able to retire is just a whole bunch of ammo and index funds. And I was like, God, that's ridiculous. But now looking back at it, yeah, in that ammo would have been a lot cheaper. But it's it's an interesting community. And I think some communities I think just breed more like full deepened people than other hobby communities, which is very interesting. I don't know why that would be. I'm sure it has to do with what type it is, the financials of it. I'm sure there's a lot of factors, but I could definitely see some hobbies or just things that you want to get into being much more like, well, you have to fully immerse yourself or you can't do this.
Yeah, you have to commit. Like, so my dad is does all this mountain man reenactment stuff and black powder shooting from like the 1860 fur trade of, frontier land, Pacific Northwest. And it's relatively harmless, like they really want anybody in there. It's like not, even though like that era it wasn't the most enlightened time, the people I think have a real like truly they want people to experience what it was like to live on the frontier time. They want to keep these things so they like if everything fell apart, like this community of people could rally around and they could still cook in Dutch ovens and like there's a real sweet aspect to it, but it is a like almost 100% commitment. You don't fair weather fan into this rendezvous thing, and like the costuming, the just like the way of life of like black powder rifle, and like especially like you said, invested lead. I moved probably like I hurt my back because it was so heavy. He had all these 5-gallon buckets full of lead. Like there was an old cop target practice shop where the berm had to get dug out, and he took all of the lead from the hill of dirt and sand and made billets out of it, and he makes his own like lead balls for his muzzle loading rifles. It's just like insane the level of shit that he's had to do to keep this hobby moving, and it's like it's so encompassing. And when I think of that stuff, I'm like, well, that's the bridge too far. But like it's almost no different than the Warhammer people, where it's 24/7. It's the fucking Vince Venturellas of the world, who not only is he an amazing painter, he is an amazing army builder, he is an amazing content creator, he's making games that are doing, like, he is the total package when it comes to it. That's his life.
Yeah.
Like Warhammer is his life. So it's like it exists everywhere, but I think some hobbies are like way more predisposed to take you to those places. And and the weirder, more esoteric the hobby, I think the more you have opened yourself up for maybe negativity that you wouldn't get elsewhere.
Yeah. Warhammer is such an interesting example because like when I think about Warhammer and like listen off all the things that Vince does, like, yeah, he's got a bunch of stuff, but it's like, it's almost like each one of those is a hobby in a hobby, and it's like, I don't think a lot of other hobbies have that. And I think that's what's so crazy about Warhammer is like 1 week I could be crazy into playing, the next week I could be crazy into painting, and the next week I could be crazy into shooting video. And it's like, if I'm crazy into like, golf, like then I'm just playing 1 week, I'm playing the next week, I'm playing the next week. There's not that many other things to do inside of it. Like, which is so interesting about Warhammer compared to other stuff is it's just, there's so many buckets to just completely immerse yourself in that it's like, I don't know if you have an option. I think you just are like, as soon as you see the black hole, you just fall into it. Like you can't even, like you just instantly are, that's it. It's like, speaking of the newer Star Wars movies, it's like when Rey just stares in the hole and can't stop, and Luke's like, why did you do that? She's like, I don't know. I just looked at it. I couldn't stop looking at it. I don't know. I was just inside of it. He's like, you instantly went in there. It's like,
I think that's like the scientific term of the black hole. If you're close enough to actually see the black hole, you're too close to get away from it.
You're already in it. I think Warhammer is a black hole. I think if you know it exists, you're just slowly defying time until you fall into it. I don't think that you can know that it's there and not get into it eventually.
Except for, look, I mean, like we say that, but we live with two people who
I
are
know.
completely indifferent to its existence. So like, it's like you have to be predisposed to the dark side to be sucked into it. You know, it's like it's part there.
So maybe it
like,
was that you had to play card games in 6th grade, and then if you know Warhammer exists, you can't avoid it. It follows you.
Yeah. Well, and I remember being in like 6th grade, and the Zooks. I remember the Zooks. They were the Mormon family. They had like 18 kids or some shit. It was nuts. And their house was like no bigger than a postage stamp, and they were all on top of each other. They were all Lord of the Rings freaks and big Warhammer fantasy battle things. And I remember them talking about their Warhammer models as we'd walk to school. And I was just like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they'd like show me like the white dwarfs and like, look, this is the wheel of death. And it was like an old, like, the like little rat things. And I was just like, this thing's nuts. And they're like, this model costs $100. I was like, what?
Yeah. Dude, okay, so that's so crazy because I knew that same Mormon family, but the opposite. So it was a Mormon family that was like 4 people in a huge house, and they all played 40K instead of fantasy. So that's
weird.
that's so weird.
Well, I mean, like truly, like, and like, I think that, you know, when you throw out a term like Mormonism, like everybody's like, oh, Mormons, and it gets like kind of negative. But I challenge you to find a more wholesome group of people. like Mormons are typically some of the sweetest people I've ever met, and they're like, their religion's weird. I'm not on board with a lot of it. But I will say that I haven't met just a random Mormon and been like, you are an absolute piece of human garbage. I'm always like, God, this guy was so sweet. And they just want to talk about things. They want to learn about your life. Like they actually are interested in the things that interest you. And so like to have that experience and that insight into fantasy and they were like my first introduction to Lord of the Rings, you know, like I'd never thought about the Zooks much, but starting Hobby Time in the Murder Basement, I realized that like they were like a weird like shift, like, oh, there's so much more than just Marvel comics. There's so much more. And there's like, I was like, huh, interesting. So I think about that family fitting in that small house loaded with pewter models. It was just like pewter everywhere. It was nuts.
Dude.
And they were horrible painters. I remember clearly being like, God, these all look like shit. I think that was my other thing. I was like, God, I have toys that look better than this.
Dude, maybe the Mormons were the black hole. Maybe just being near them, we just got pulled into Warhammer and we couldn't even help ourselves because they were just too nice and inviting, man.
They're very sweet people,
Maybe
man.
that's what it is.
I have cousins that are Mormons, and like I challenge you to find sweeter people. They're just
It's
like
true.
so nice. I'm like I don't understand like so much of your life, but also you're pretty fucking cool people. You're very sweet and you're very supportive. I love you
very
guys.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I think that they've got, you know, some generational, you know, women oppression stuff to sort out, but other than that, I think they're pretty nice people. I've had some pretty good experience with them.
All religions have,
oh my God,
they all need to be on the apology tour 2022.
Yeah,
all of them need to do that. People of color, women, you know, the LGBT community.
Yeah.
If you are anything but a white guy, and even for white guys, because they need to apologize for them for like lying to them the entire time. This is the way that you need to be.
Yeah.
Like all organized religions just need to be on the apology tour, because you're right. Like they all like it's not everybody's fault that they're like this, but now that we're here, we have to deal with
Cat's out of the bag. We got to start to fix this. We're all
right, exactly.
We all saw the black hole, and we got to start to not fall.
We gotta fucking fix this thing. Yeah,
help us, Mormons. You're our only hope. If you got us into Warhammer, you can get us out of this fucking mess.
You can get us out of it.
Oh my God, man.
Okay, so I guess I want to wrap this up. Is there a bridge too far for you? Is there one thing that you just will never touch? I have the one thing. I know I have the one thing that I can't go to, and I know that like if I did, I would have a lot of fun, but it would ruin my life. Do you have that thing?
Okay,
I mean,
I have to think about it. I have to think
besides
about it.
heroin, besides
Yeah,
drugs.
besides actual drugs, let me think. You go first and I'll think.
Okay. The thing in my life that I have been told by my wife and that I absolutely know that if I got into it, it would ruin my life is ventriloquism and and puppetry. Like I think I would lose my entire fucking life trying to learn how to throw my voice, l- making dolls, like everything about the hobby of ventriloquism is not that far off from everything that I already like. But my wife has said, you can't be a ventriloquist. I will leave you. I'm like, I accept that. I accept that. I understand your terms and I accept that. I will sign on that dotted line
Yeah.
because yeah, it's all consuming. That's a hobby that you can't just tip your toes into. No, it's like I'm surprised that you put up with card magic the way that you did, but I got way into card magic, and so like that's why I know ventriloquism. There is no like casually wading into it. It would be an entire change in my life.
So okay, mine mine would be and so these are like life goals also and things I'm working really hard to make sure that this happens, but I know that this is it. Like this is going to be
Yeah,
the finite, like this is the
the one,
final chapter. This is it. Like
the end of
here you go.
sauce.
Yeah, here's what you do now. Mine is moving onto a golf course that I join a private membership at.
Ooh yeah. Oh dude,
That is
that's it.
X.
That's
That's
done.
finite. Peace out. See you guys never again. And that's the end of everything is when that happens because that's like, that's family raising goals, like raising a kid on a golf club. That private golf club life is it. Cuz I've had memberships to public courses where you can play as much as you want, you
Sure.
just hang out and like pre-covid a big part of my job in the afternoons was virtual, and so usually I'd kind of be wrapped up out in the field doing follow up on my accounts by 2-3 o'clock. I would go home, I would change, I would be at the golf club at 3:30 hanging out, have a drink at the bar, have a salad, tee off at 5. Dude, I did that 4 or 5 nights a week for 9 months. And like
Holy
that was
shit.
at like a public course. And like I know the black hole of a private course. I know it. I've played on them. I've played at country clubs. I know the experience. I know that that will be it. And I know that's like, that's a goal. That's where I want that, right? But I know that that's it. That's like
Yeah.
that's the end of the
Game
road.
over.
Like, see you guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be at the course all day, every day. I'm gonna be hanging out at the bar, having a drink, catching up on work, saying hey to everybody. Because it's like that it's like maybe that's it. It's the fucking deep end, right? That's the ultimate deep end, is because then it's you meet the people. You get the like-minded people who also want that experience. Fuck, dude. God damn
Yeah.
it. That's why this happens.
And I think that for me, the esoteric knowledge that somebody else can bring in and like the dying arts, like so I watch these things, I think it's Business Insider puts them out and they're called Still Standing. Have you watched any of those?
Mm-mm.
Where it's like people who do really specific trades. So it's like people who make concrete tiles by hand, people who build pianos by hand, the papyrus makers, all that stuff. Anytime I see one of their jobs and the things that they do, I'm like, I want to learn how to do this because I don't want this knowledge to ever go away. Like when I see stuff like that, like I want to be that. In Fahrenheit 451, I want to be the guy who memorizes a book to give to someone else, So when I'm like 80 and I'm reciting this book back to them, like I am helping the human race, even though I'm probably talking, like the history of Pokemon or Magic, or like it will not be as important as it is built up in my mind. But for me, that's like the huge part of the deep end is like, oh, this is a dying trade and magic still happens here. And a man, if I can help keep it alive, that's like a huge part of it. I would lose my fucking mind in something like ventriloquism, like all the little things, automatons. Oh my god, if you ever get to the point where I'm making little fucking like wind up robots, life has totally fucking fallen apart for me. I'm the dude from S Town fixing fucking solar clocks and
Oh
shit.
my god. Dude, well, I can promise to humanity that the art of crushing white claws on a golf course and then ripping dingers down the fairway will never be lost. I promise to humanity that that will not die out while I'm still here. I promise you that, world. I will do that. It will never die. It's up to the
malt
next
beverage might
generation.
change.
Yeah, it's up to the next
But
generation to keep it going. But the art of ripping dingers after some drinks is definitely going to make it through this generation. I will personally oversee that.
yeah, man, I could totally see how that's just something that once you get into it, like you're like, oh no, this is a good way to end my day. This is a good thing. Like I don't know how you avoid that black hole. Like
Yeah.
there's a reason why I don't golf. And it's not just because like I think I would suck at it. It's because I think I would probably actually lose my life. Like I think I would get that deep into it just because I see what I do on literally everything else. Like why do I want to do that? And golf people aren't necessarily my favoriteest people in the world.
That's
Like
super fair. That's totally fair.
I've hung out with a lot of golf people. They can be very challenging people to be around.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an easy one to get black holed into because there is only one number and it's the last time you played. You know what I mean? Like you literally are playing against yourself from the last time you played.
Yeah.
And it's easy because it's all tracked. There's a number for everything you do. And you could be like, God damn it, I did this one thing too many times. And like, you know, the numbers, and it's easy to get sucked into. But it's like that's my big black hole. And I know where it exists and I know I'm going for it. I am way past knowing the black hole exists to like probably on the downswing, you know, like it's like I could see the event horizon. Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. The event horizon's getting closer every day. And like, oh, that's gonna be it. I know it's coming. I don't think there's a way for me to avoid it because I got sucked into that black hole just early, and like that's just all. As soon as I knew what was there, I was like, I want to go in the owl. Like I want to go find out. So
Well,
it's
I'll have to like try it with you sometime because like
yeah.
truthfully, all the people that I know that play golf, except for like I have a buddy who just started a new YouTube channel. I believe it's called the Billy Boys Golf channel, and they tried doing golf challenges to each other. And Evan's like one of the funniest, sweetest people you'll ever meet. He's so funny. He is just super kind. I'm like, actually, I could hang out with like Evan and play golf, but I am like fucking terrified of opening up that Pandora's box because like I just don't need it. But I think in the right place, with the right people, I could have a lot of fun. But just knowing the people through like picture framing, I framed a lot of hole in one flags. The people who bring that in, like the and they aren't even the biggest people into it. Like I'm like, oh boy,
It's
oh boy.
yeah, I get it. Everybody's perception about golf, I would say predominantly is correct. I would say whatever, you know, like you really whatever you think it is, it's that. It's exactly that. It's exactly that, you know. And it's like I like that shit, but I get why people would be like, what the fuck, man?
Dude, I've seen golf destroy marriages, like straight up. Like I don't know if I'd ever say like power couple marriages, but like lines in the sand were made and decisions were like moved on, and suddenly they're no longer together, and they're both doing the things that they love, but they're doing them very very separately from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's dude, we could do a whole something wholesome about golf. I could do a whole episode just talking about golf. It's just so fascinating, dude.
Dude, if you feel the drive, and I think that that should be the rule with the show. If any one of us has a really strong opinion on like diving down the fucking rabbit hole on anything and can come with notes to do it so the other person doesn't have to like ruin their life to be there, like maybe slight homework, we should just have it and be like, yeah. So if you want to do a golf episode, you give me my homework so I can not be a total idiot. Because I'll just be like the dude. Did you ever watch the movie Best in Show?
Yeah.
I will be like Fred Willard as he's like sitting there talking about like the dogs out there that he has no idea what they're doing. And he's like, how much do you think I can bench press right now? Like I'll be that guy. I'll just like I don't want to totally derail you. So like give me the talking points where I need to go, that little bit of homework, and I'll do that because like I celebrate the deep end. I think that it's really important to explore those parts of our psyche and build those communities because sometimes the deep end I think is really important to emotionally just like handle this world. And it's what I get such a kick out of talking about thin paint and like just like stupid shit like that with people. Like I like talking about stuff that feels good. And I think about my things that I have here around me and I'm like, yeah, no, this is the shit. And I want to do that more. And I like learning about things. So yeah, if you've got something, I say we do it.
Yeah, I'm down. I'll just show up with, this is going to be an instant follow-up. I'm just going to make a PowerPoint and we're just going to do a PowerPoint presentation, which then brings me into, do you know about Prezi parties? Do you know about this? It's like the funniest fucking idea. So like my college roommate, he was in town and he was like talking about how him and his friends got together to do a Prezi party. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? These guys just get together and give each other PowerPoint presentations about anything they want. You just get up and you just give a PowerPoint presentation.
That's nuts.
Dude, I can't stop thinking about it. Yeah, they just whatever they want to do a PowerPoint about. And it's always like goofy shit. Like, I saw this movie and it sucks, and here's why. And it's like, oh, here's a review of this is the best band in the world, or this is the best piece of pie I've ever had. Like, you could do it about anything. And it's like, dude, that makes me laugh so hard. So we should do a Prezi party episode where we each give a PowerPoint presentation. That would be a fire podcast episode.
I would love it. I haven't made a PowerPoint since like 98. So and I'm sure it's probably something I've got to learn for this college program I'm in. So like, why not? Let's get into that deep end. And like just the PowerPoint aspect could be a deep end all in its own.
PowerPoint Prezi party. We have to do that episode now. I can't stop thinking about that.
Perfect. I love it.
Man, the deep end.
We talked about it. We explored it. I feel pretty good about my choices in life.
Yeah.
I have you ever had anybody make you feel like the choices that you've made were the wrong ones along with it? Or have you just always been like, no, this is I'm on the right path?
Yeah, I think predominantly, yeah, it's been fine. I can't really think of anything like nobody worth, thinking, like nobody super serious, like people who actually mattered, you know what I mean? Like, there's always like shitheads, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Shitheads are just part of life. Though, so
yeah.
Well, I guess we should wrap it up. At the end of each episode, we like to take a little brief time to talk about something that has made our lives better, and or just something. It can be a thing, it could be a song, it could be a person. Is there anything in your life since the last couple of weeks that has that you would like to talk about?
The Rocket Book. This was recommended after last episode where I was talking about getting an e-notebook. This was sent my way and it's incredible. This thing is actually potentially better than what I wanted for an e-notebook because it is actually pen and paper. You know what I mean? It does both. It is so genius. It's like,
so what's it do? How's it work?
So you take notes on this thing, right? It's like a special notebook. You take notes. This is my drawing about my studio design. And when you're done filling out your note using the special pen that's wipeable. So when you're done with this page, you can just wipe it off. You scan the QR code at the bottom and it uploads the page from your phone Like you use the camera on your phone to scan the QR code, then it grabs all your notes, sends it to the cloud. And you can have like labeling systems. So you could design each one to drop into different folders based on project ideas. So like people set up templates and stuff like that. There's like these little grids on the bottom. So you could be like, oh, this is my diamond idea. So maybe diamonds is money making ideas. So any money making idea I'll put on there. When I'm done writing it down, scan it, shoots it off to the cloud into my diamond folder, which is money making ideas. Dude, it's amazing. It answers 90% of what I would want an e-notebook to do. The only thing that it doesn't do is just straight up automated, right? I would love if I just closed the notebook and it just uploaded that right away, right? But that's not physically possible. But that's the only thing that it doesn't do. The organization system is amazing, and like just the feeling, the pens themselves, like certain people are very into pens, which is definitely a weird deepen thing, actually thinking about that. I have a very particular taste in pen. Very particular. And the pen that you can get for these is the exact feel and type of pen that I like to use. And like
Uniball Frisian pins.
Yes, dude.
They are a magician's best friend. You can do all sorts of weird things with them. I'll tell you about that off screen, so I'm not ruining any illusions for people. But there's some cool shit you can do with them.
They're awesome. So this thing is, and it costs $25. So like that, also that nice bonus that like, you know, the ebook I was looking at was $500. And so it's like, I was like, you know, for $25, I think I'd rather give this a shot than figure out, you know, is ebooks for me to begin with. And now after using this, I think after using it for a couple of days, I could say, yeah, I could and I would appreciate a $500 ebook, but like for $25, I don't think I need one. You know what I mean? All that does is automate when I am done taking the notes, shoots it to the cloud. But I don't get the satisfaction of using a gel pen. And like, dude, I've had a lot, like, this is really weird, but I've enjoyed writing. Like I've enjoyed using a pen because like that's something I've noticed through COVID. I don't know the last time I wrote anything down. Everything is digital. Everything. And so it's like, it's weird.
I've got pins everywhere, man. Like I cannot do things without them. I am a physical media guy, unfortunately. Like I wish I could be all digital. I wish I could type as fast as my brain goes. I can't. I can barely write as fast as my brain goes. Like my biggest problem is I can't read what I've written. So like a year from now, I'll look at my chicken scratch. I'll be like, whoa, I don't know what this is, but I'm moving on.
Yeah, that's the instructions where I buried $10,000. Damn.
Damn. Shit. Yeah. I'm like Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like it's I've had moments where I look back at like song lyrics, and because like I write so fast when I'm getting it out, like there was that episode where he's like doing the Nightman. This is the first Nightman one. And they shows like his lyric sheet, and it's like photos of like he drew like a spider and like a thing, and like as you look at it, it's actually the lyrics of the song, but like you have to actually be in the brain of Charlie Day to understand that. That's what my handwriting is, and that's a real problem.
So Rocketbook, fire.
Rocketbook,
really been enjoying that lately. What about you,
dude? So as we've mentioned before, I am a big fan of tarot cards. But what predated close-up card magic was tarot cards for me. And I had a lot of fun with them, and I back a lot of Kickstarters and things. And there's this Koth tarot deck that just came out. I don't believe that it actually is something that you can buy anymore. I think it was kind of a one and done thing, especially since it's based off of the characters from King of the Hill, but it's also based off of the Rider-Waite Smith tarot system. So like you have like Bobby as the fool dancing on the edge. He's Tartuffe, the sly wonder dog.
Oh my God.
It's amazing. You have Luann as the high priestess. You have Peggy is the empress.
This is amazing.
Hank's the emperor. So buddy of mine in the Discord, and hangs out, and if there's anybody who's ever going to be a moderator for my streams, it's DeMatt, just because he's always been like really sweet in there. He sent me this link to this guy's like TikTok. He's like, dude, this guy's got the greatest idea. And he was like, I'm doing this thing based off King of the Hill. I was like, that is the best idea for the Judgment card. You should have Chuck Mangione playing the trumpets over a burning Megalomart. And so he did
Oh my God.
Judge Mangione for me. And it's amazing. So my idea made it into the deck, and I got to message him the other day and was just like, that is so good. We're a great teammate. If you ever want to work on a tarot deck, we should. But it's kind of one of those things that like, who knows if they're going to do this again, because it's done by Mr. Gender. You can find him on Instagram and TikTok. Because it's like not licensed. It's all original artwork based off these things, but it's like, I think if Mike Judge wanted to be a dick, he probably could. But the fact that it happened, and I had this interaction with like a stranger, and we had just like a really great love of tarot and King of the Hill. Beautiful. Absolutely
amazing.
Beautiful.
Amazing. What a wholesome episode.
We did it.
We did it.
Again, another wholesome one in the bag.
Yeah.
I think our release schedule is going to be, for anybody who's still listening, bi-weekly, twice a month, every other week, however you want to say it, for a while, until we get like a little bit of a backlog going and we feel like we aren't under the ball. And I think for probably the next couple episodes, I will be uploading them on my channel still, and you'll probably still be doing it on yours. But after that, it'll be something wholesome only on the Something Wholesome page, only on the Something Wholesome Spotify's. Sorry that iTunes isn't working yet. Apple is mad at us. I'm having troubles, but we're on Google now. So we're on Spotify, we're on Google, and I think we're on Stitcher as well. So we're on 3 really big platforms. We just need to get iTunes figured out. But yeah, make sure that wherever you're listening to us, make sure you're on the Something Wholesome page so you can actually follow us, because at a certain point, that stuff will disappear, and we don't want you to. And so far, I'm really pleased with how many people have watched our YouTube videos. It seems like a lot more than I was expecting, which is really sweet.
Yeah, we had a great kickoff, so thank you, everyone. Definitely appreciate that. And more to come.
Yeah. You got anything else you want to say before we head on to the rest of our day?
Nope. This has been so damn wholesome, man.
So damn wholesome. Well, buddy, Sauce, it is always fun. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, dude, anytime. Take care, and we will talk soon.
Peace.